incredible e-commerce company, e-commerce finance company, Klarna. I'm very, very excited because, you know, Colleen Gorski, she has a huge, I mean, she has a great, great background in marketing at so many of like the companies. We'll go into that, but this whole presentation is about leading the way, what you need to know about marketing to millennials and Gen Z. So anyone in the chat, if you have questions about how to market to Gen Zs, you know, what data you're seeing and, you know, from millennials, this is the conversation for you. So with that, I'd love to get to have Colleen join our conversation. Colleen, you can put your video on. We're ready for you. Put the slides up.
Here I am.
I've been very excited. We've been touching base all week about this conversation, and I have to say, I mean, Klarna has been such a great partner for us, but it's just also, you know, your background personally is just so interesting. So I think just even for people that, you know, you're the head of co-marketing at Klarna, but previously, tell us a little bit about your background so the audience has some context.
Yes. So, I mean, if I go way back, I moved to New York to be an actor, singer, dancer, waiter. So I highly recommend everyone taking improv classes. But beyond that, I have a background, agency background. I started my career at Jack Morton, sort of building experiences with brands, one-on-one, face-to-face, and understanding the impact that has on consumers. And then I moved to the brand side where I worked at Virgin Mobile and led brand marketing and partnerships there. And then I moved to Spotify. So it's second piece of advice is always, you never know where people are going to end up, because, you know, it was before Spotify opened up. Someone knew that I worked in partnerships. We were launching with Coca-Cola as one of our global partners, and they brought me on to lead global partnerships, which at first was just Coca-Cola. And then it became an entire practice that was built out globally. And we worked with Starbucks and Nike and PlayStation and Coca-Cola globally. And then I took a little break to be a mom and came back and worked at Pandora for a bit and SiriusXM during that acquisition. And then I just transferred over to Klarna in January. So super excited to be still in the tech space and in the exciting world of e-commerce, which, you know, working in streaming service subscription is e-com. So don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But, you know, gave me a great basis for driving digital growth.
No, that's huge. And what I love about, and this is just to shape the conversation that we're having about Klarna, you know, talk about some of the insights that you had at Spotify, you know, and the data that you got from Spotify.
Yeah, it was really interesting to be at Spotify in the early days. And it's very parallel to kind of what's happening at Klarna now, is just, you know, data, everything is about data we hear right now. And, you know, in the old days, at the early time at Spotify, when we were really trying to educate about streaming. Now, if you go back, there was no Apple Music yet. People were still using their iPods. And so, you know, the notion of really understanding behavior based on app engagement was somewhat new. And so, you know, I just remember there being those light bulb moments when we realized we had so much behavioral data on people. You know, we knew their mind state, their kind of psychographic information, if they were creating playlists that were titled, you know, breakup or marathon training, right? You had so many insights into, you know, what's driving these people versus, you know, just the number of streams or the genres that they were listening to, right? So you really get to know the person based on that behavioral data. And so that's something that, you know, coming into the Klarna ecosystem is so interesting, because data without insights, you know, it doesn't matter, right? And then you need to take those insights and make them actionable to create something that's, you know, magical. And we call it smooth at Klarna. It's with 3 O's. That's sort of our brand ethos, which is to make the experience smooth for consumers, whether that's our product experience or, you know, an onboarding experience or experience with our merchants and our retail partners. You know, we want to add that sort of magical secret sauce to that shopping experience. So we're more than a payment provider. We're kind of an all-in-one shopping destination that really understands you and what drives you and what's relevant to you. And so that's been one of the biggest insights that I've brought with me from my past life, which is, you know, you need to take that data and use it for good and to create something really tailored and personalized, and that's where you win with customers.
And let's talk about the Klarna brand. Well, let's also, I think the next slide has all the data on Klarna, because I think just in terms of market reach that you guys have, you have a $45 billion valuation, probably one of the biggest fintech valuations I've heard of and probably in history. 250,000 retail partners, and those retail partners are everyone from H&M, IKEA, I mean, you name it. It's huge. And then 90 million global shoppers, and that's just, I mean, you guys are just getting started, right? This is like, it's going to be
pretty incredible. Yeah, it's pretty incredible, the growth. We were just named one of the best places to work in New York, and our GM was speaking to us yesterday, and he was highlighting like this type of rapid growth is an anomaly. Like, we need to be, riding this wave and enjoying every moment of it, because it's not normal. But it's a pretty awesome rocket ship to be on. And one of the great things I love about Klarna is, a lot of attention goes to our enterprise merchants and retail partners, but we do have integrations with a lot of the Shopify's of the world, and we do have an entire team dedicated to small business, to mid-market business, and so that is equally, if not more important to us in terms of kind of rounding out how people really shop in their everyday life. I mean, one of the things that we're noticing as a trend is, the live shopping experience, right? And, we participated in something with Macy's called Holiday, HAUL, Holiday, which is one of their bespoke programs. And we did a live stream shopping experience, and it's very popular in China and just gaining in popularity here. But there are so many community-based or local stores that are leveraging live streaming to engage with their community. So, the notion of the balance of enterprise versus small business, and how we use our marketing channels and all of our connections with our audience to really try to round out and make Klarna a discovery platform too, right? So, you're not always just seeing the same enterprise brands. Not that we don't, love those brands, but we know that you may shop at one particular brand for one particular thing, and you might go to your local store for those last minute gift ideas or things like that. So we try to maintain that balance and in understanding consumer behavior and making recommendations that are relevant.
I love it. And this topic is really about, how leading the way, what you need to know about marketing to millennials and Gen Z. The interesting thing is, and we have a ton of millennials working at FounderMade, and so we were talking about Klarna yesterday, and some of our team members, it's just cool. I can't even put my finger on it. It's just cool. And I don't even know why I trust Klarna, but I do. What in your marketing as a brand did you guys do, or what did you see that was done differently, and what kind of takeaways can other companies take from what you guys have done in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things was, first of all, as a tech company, putting brand at the heart as opposed to, sort of a phase two, I think was one of the big wins for Klarna in the early days. And I think, the insight that particularly for the Gen Z millennial consumer, larger banks or banking institutions kind of have lost a bit of trust with the, with the marketplace, and people don't necessarily see them as relatable. And so we did an analysis of, and this was pre my time here, but looking at kind of the branding of all of these, of the banking industry at large. And it was very blue. It was very people in suits and professionals, and, not necessarily something that is so relevant. You see that change happening now in terms of, advertising representation and making sure that it's reflective of the community. But I think what Klarna did really well was kind of do a 180 and go in the complete opposite direction. We put a ton of merit into owning the color pink, in kind of bucking the system, but then also really trying to talk to our consumers and understand what's driving them. So, and to put the consumer at the heart of everything that we do. And I think that that's where that trust comes from. Is it feels relatable, it feels personalized, it feels like a company that understands the convenience that I need or the flexibility that I need and is delivering solutions to those challenges that I might have in my life right now. And that, particularly with the pandemic, I think that was one of the big wins for the company.
No, I think you're completely right. And you have some interesting stats about, credit cards, during pandemic. What were people, more credit cards, less credit cards, more people? I mean, what were people doing? And
definitely less. We just did a series of research with our audience. It's a reopening report that is being released. And so, first and foremost, about 70% of our consumers are millennial and Gen Z. And I think in general, during the pandemic, what we saw was a massive decline in credit card applications, but also a large number of people taking that time to pay down their debt and really think about how to be smarter about financing their life. And so that's one of the great things about the flexible payment options, the pay in four that Klarna offers, is that it's interest free and it allows more convenience for people to kind of plan their life without necessarily having to take on a lot of those interest fees and things like that. And so, obviously, it's no surprise to anyone that e-com and digital saw a huge increase during the pandemic, but that trend is expected to continue, while also people, 80% of people preferring to shop online, but also balancing that with some people who really want to go back and touch and feel something in a store. And so Klarna is really leaning into both an in-store and e-com product for our customers, depending on how they want to shop. I think overall, in terms of Gen Z, there are sort of three key themes. One is online shopping and e-com, but also the innovations around online shopping and e-com. So social shopping is becoming more and more important. Being able to swipe up and shop the look is hugely important when you're talking about influencers and social media. The innovations around live stream shopping and being able to have customized recommendations and content built around the shopping experience, hugely important. And then the other two areas we've seen are that Gen Z shoppers we know that they're super savvy. They're very marketed to. They see right through things that aren't authentic. And so, you really need to connect with them in an authentic way, where and when they want to be shopping. And then the third is really value-based orientation. And so leaning into the values of your company and connecting with consumers around that, hugely important. At Klarna, one of our core values is sustainability. We just launched in our app in April around Earth Day, a CO2 impact tracker. It's no judgment. It's just providing information to people so that they can understand the impact of their purchases, and they can offset that in the app. It's in various markets, various levels of this, but yeah, it's definitely something that we're leaning into as a brand, and we've seen in our research is hugely important to this particular demographic.
And so, I love the CO2 tracker. It's almost like you're becoming friends of the customer, which is, you're helping, but there's no judgment.
Right.
And what type of things can, brands do to leverage what we know, to be true, which is the discovery tool, with the online, with the shopping video shopping. What do you think, what are you guys seeing that brands can do and business executives can do?
Yeah, I think, social interaction is hugely important. So and optimization of that. It's funny, Brendan was just talking in the last session about, being hyper focused on conversion tactics versus mid-funnel tactics, and really understanding that, back when I went to school, way back in the 90s, I think the average when I was in class was something like 4 to 5 engagements with a customer before they would convert and engage with your brand. Now, with the advent of the internet and messaging being at our fingertips at all times, it's more in the range of 30 to 40 touch points. And so I think really looking at the entire marketing mix is hugely important. As a shopping destination, clearly people come to Klarna either within our app or within a partner's e-com site to transact, right? That's a core part of what we're doing. But we also know that this generation is highly influenced by pop culture. It's highly influenced by social influencers, by their peers, by community. And so, being able to engage social sharing, engage your audience from a social interaction perspective, not just pushing things out, but making things two-way. User-generated content is hugely important for, we just did a campaign with A$AP Rocky, which was drop your lockdown look and get smooth again. And so we were encouraging people to show us their lockdown look and then show us how they're getting smooth again. And, none of that is driving transaction, right? But all of that is going to ultimately inspire people to engage with Klarna and to check out with Klarna. And so as founders are looking at ways to kind of break through that clutter, it's about, what is that social currency that you can offer? How do you make your engagements more shareable and more participatory? So I would say that that's been a big area that Klarna as a brand, in terms of our brand marketing, is leaning in. And then as you kind of move people through the funnel, through those down to the conversion tactics, just understanding that all of those touch points don't have the same ROI. And so when you look at your marketing mix, you're not going to measure those top of funnel investments the same way that you're measuring your conversion tactics, and that's okay, And so, like, really looking at it as a media mix or a marketing mix, I'd say is some of the best advice that I have.
And where are you seeing consumers, obviously let's even talk about pandemic, pre-pandemic, during pandemic and then post-pandemic, where are you seeing, because you have so much data on, and this is what I love about Klarna is, before you'd have a credit card and there'd be, maybe they could semi-track what customers are doing, but this is like the data upon data, times, a billion. So,
Yeah.
Talk about how people are shopping, pre-pandemic, during pandemic, and then post now, and what categories are really being driven.
Sure. And it's also interesting to see how our retail partners have responded too, because, obviously e-com was not new pre-pandemic, right? But it was much more of a balance between brick and mortar and e-com. And, everyone was sort of forced into this funnel, right? To say, this is the only option. So we have to lean in here. Obviously no surprise to anyone that athleisure was a hugely popular vertical during the pandemic. A lot of outdoor kind of sporting equipment and people getting back to nature was a really big trend in kind of mid-pandemic spending. A lot of electronics, no surprise, particularly with children in the home, to be able to have more entertainment that doesn't include going out into the world. So those are some categories that we saw a lot of spending. In terms of behavior, within our app, we have wish listing, which is the ability to, and also price drop notifications. And so we saw a lot of people leaning into those features because, particularly during a pandemic, a lot of people's incomes were impacted, or people were just hyper focusing on the health of their financial wellness. And so we saw a lot of those tactics, those tools being used. So, people are deal seeking, right? If they want to find the best price online, it's great to set up those price drop notifications. And then wish listing, gives you something to kind of look forward to, whether that's travel or that great pair of shoes, or that gift for the holidays that you want to make sure that you're saving up for, or that you want to make sure that you're financing in a smart way. We really want to enable people to have that financial wellness that was a spotlight was really shown on during the pandemic.
I love that. And then in terms of the strategy on, how Klarna has, how you guys are actually working with and getting the 250, thousand retail partners.
Yeah.
Do you guys have goals on, how much more you're going to go towards, and what's the long term? I mean, is it to be in every type of payment system ever?
Yes. Yes. I mean,
World
certainly
domination.
ubiquity. Yeah, ubiquity is important. Here in the US, we have a lot of focus on our pay in 4 product and our app. In other parts of the world, Klarna is a bank, right? And so people have a Klarna card and they're financing their groceries and all other aspects of their life. And so, from a commercial perspective, we have had a lot of focus on fashion, on apparel. And so I think you'll start to see that diversifying into travel and other categories and verticals, sports. But yeah, our goal is ubiquity, that, to make Klarna available wherever people want to transact. And I think, we also want to make sure that we continue to educate about the value proposition, because, like you said, with the Gen Zers in your own office environment, we have a lot of awareness. We are still educating on the value proposition of Klarna. So it's, the shopping destination and the flexible payment options. And so we'll continue to do that with our partners. And, you'll see a lot more kind of co-marketing and partner marketing, where we'll lean into the audiences of our, small businesses, of our enterprise partners, to really try to bring unique shopping experiences to our consumers together, to really drive that mutual value with our partners.
And I love I love all these different unique shopping experiences that you've done marketing wise. I know you rattled off a couple, but can we talk about all the different types of shopping experiences that you guys have done?
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
also the video shopping is still something that I think that some of our brands haven't been doing. So just even getting your thoughts on what you think the future of that's going to be, and what brands are thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, there certainly, from a live stream shopping perspective, there are a lot of apps out there that founders and retailers can partner with to kind of take over some of the heavy lift of large scale live stream shopping. But then there's also Facebook Live. There's a lot of small businesses that are leveraging that functionality to connect with their community in a live way, and to be able to bring kind of the touching and feeling of the in-store experience to the at-home kind of e-com experience. We actually just acquired a company last week called Hero, which kind of specializes in that social shopping. So watch that space for more on that. But I think, we have, the great thing about working across all verticals within e-com is we can lean into niche audiences. So, we have done a gaming experience. We did a campaign that was called Heartbeat for Sneakers. So the key insight there was that, sneaker enthusiasts are being beaten by bots, right? And so we wanted to be able to verify a heartbeat within the app to prove that you are a human, to be able to have access to these drops. And that's something that a brand like Klarna, who has the funding to kind of tap into those experiences, or to do a partnership with Lady Gaga to showcase spending on yourself, and female empowerment. Can you
explain what the partnership exactly? We have people from our audience that said, love the collab with Lady Gaga. So what exactly, what did you?
So it was a ring. The one of the key creative images was basically around Valentine's Day. That was, a ring that had, it was the middle finger. I don't want to do it on your on your summit here, but that was a bespoke moment around Valentine's Day. But then we also partnered with House Labs, her company, to create an experience in LA where creative people can go to collaborate and have a space to work and to collaborate. And that's live in LA now. And so it's also kind of thinking through that holistic experience, right? So if something is an on-site in-person experience, how do you extend that into the digital? And then reciprocally, how do you take something digital and bring it into the experiential world, particularly now that the world is opening up again? And that, I think, is one of the few positive things, coming out of the pandemic, is just thinking through all the many ways that people like to engage and to shop, and when those right moments are for those messages, and really tailoring your messages for the mindset that the consumer is in during those experiences, I think is one of the key learnings coming out of the pandemic.
No, it's so interesting. And I mean, having a reopening report, because that there's going to be a shift in spending. I think there's a ton of pent up demand happening.
Yes.
And even I'm sure now, probably the data that you have from this report, then probably next quarter is going to be completely, it's super, super interesting. So we have a link to the reopening report just so that everybody can see it, because I think it's so interesting, the amount of data that you're collecting. Like I looked at first, I said, Klarna, it's an incredible millennial friendly, bank fintech company. But if you really think about it, the tech behind it and the amount of, every time you guys are looking at a site that has Klarna on it, think about all the data that they're collecting. It's pretty mind boggling. Yeah. And so, what I love is that you're taking that data, using it for good, becoming friends to help the entrepreneurs that are driving the sales, that are, building those businesses, and, helping, frankly, our people spend in more sustainable ways, and thinking through their purchase behavior, which is really, really important. And so, I know that Klarna has big, aspirations. It's already like a rocket ship. It's already, but what, and I just would love, like, if we were to say, like, when, we all have warm and fuzzies about the brand, but what as a marketer do you want people to think when they think of Klarna, and like, what's the mission?
I think the main takeaway is that it's an all-in-one shopping destination. Whether you're looking for a mattress, which is an interesting insight that was just brought to my attention recently upon launching here in the US. That was one of the top products that people were, financing with Klarna, was their mattress purchase. To a travel experience, to gifting, to your wardrobe, that you can find everything with Klarna, and you can finance your life in a smarter way with flexible payment options. So, really tying those two pieces together. But as a future state, what we are looking to be is an indispensable partner for our retailers, and well loved by our customers. And so, continuing to put the customer at the heart of everything we do. My role is truly B2B2C. And so, my customers are our retail partners. And that's, as I mentioned, that spans, in May, we announced an SME initiative where we took applications from small businesses to have a package of marketing from Klarna, and to have free Klarna for a year with no fees and all of that. And so, we try to lean in and be a great partner to our brands and our retailers. But in the end, none of us are successful unless we are relevant, personalized, and engaging to our consumers. And so you'll continue to see innovations in, social shopping and content creation to solidify our foothold in the shopping space.
It's absolutely brilliant. And so for those that, aren't using Klarna on their sites, best way for them to obviously onboard, and what's usually the time frame for people to get to start working with you?
It can be pretty quick. I think that we had stated in here that, I don't know if my contact information goes somewhere, or if I can put a site link in here. I can probably put a site link in here, or maybe Sonia can do that while we're chatting. But yes, it's a pretty quick integration, particularly for small businesses who might have platforms that they already have integrations with. So reach out to us. Thank you, Sonia. She just posted it there, Klarna.com. US business. And it's a pretty quick process to get onboarded with Klarna. And then if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to, provide any additional insights. And, we're always looking to to promote our small business founder community. And, we have a lot of dedicated work streams around, small business discovery. And so would love to engage with anyone who's interested.
I mean, we have so many great brands that I feel like the online shopping plus Klarna experience, something really creative would be incredible for brand discovery and, obviously. So
yeah, and hopefully, bringing new customers to your brands and to your communities. That's what our goal is. Our goal is to drive growth for our brand partners, and that growth can be new customers, it can be average order value, it can be brand relevance. We tailor all of our campaign work to speak to what's important to our community.
Well, thanks so much, Colleen. I feel like we're all now much more well versed on, how people. I feel it's funny because we've been doing these shows in the midst of pandemic, and now it's been over a year and a half, and the world is opening. Everybody's shopping. It's like the difference in our conversations now, and sure. It's going to be even better. And I'm so happy, that we have partners like you. So thank you.
Thank you for having us. We are so happy to be here. Would love to participate again.
Wonderful. Have a wonderful day.